Hi, second graders. I'm here back with Jack. Hi, Jack. And we really hope you enjoyed the story Tar Beach and creating your superhero selfie. And today we are going to create a beautiful New York City skyline at night, just like Cassie imagined flying over the George Washington Bridge. So we hope that you are going to enjoy this next activity. I think it's going to be fun. What do you think, Jack? Jack says yes. All right, let me put him down. And for this activity, you are going to need a piece of white drawing paper, like computer paper. That's all you need. That's fine. You are going to need either some newspapers or magazines, old magazines or newspaper if you have it, or colored paper would be fine. If you have watercolor paints, a paintbrush and some water, that would be awesome. If not, crayons or color pencils will be just fine. Also, you will be needing the scissors and a glue stick. And if you have it, a black pen and a black marker. So gather up those materials now before the video starts, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, friends, here I have a picture of Tar Beach where Cassie is flying over the George Washington Bridge at night. So I thought we would create a beautiful night sky with stars and then add buildings as well. Okay, one other supply that I forgot to mention that would be helpful is some yellow crayons, silver crayons, white crayons for stars. Okay, if you don't have those on hand, that's totally fine. That's optional. All right, so for those of you who are going to be painting the night sky, you can put a brown paper bag underneath your work surface or a slice of newspaper just to protect the table while you're painting. Your paper should be the side-to-side way or the hot dog way for this project. I think that way we can fit more of our night sky in buildings. You're going to need your set of watercolors. I have a lot of different colors here, but if you just have the set with primary and secondary colors, that's fine. That's all you need, because you can always mix your colors. You need a cup of water, and you should use a paper cup or a painting cup. You shouldn't use a cup that you drink out of for your paint water, and a paintbrush. Okay, I have a little bit of a larger paintbrush, but if you have a smaller one, whatever works, that's just fine. All right, so hopefully this looks familiar to you. This is called the color wheel. Yep, thank you for those of you who remembered. Now, to paint our night sky, you could say, okay, we can just do dark blue, but I thought we can add more cool colors to, kind of like how we did our starry nights, to this project. So besides blue, we could add blue violet, violet, some turquoise, which is blue green, or even red violet. Now, you might say, well, this is Levy. I don't have blue violet in my paint tray, or blue green or red violet. But guess what? Can you make those colors? Yes, you can. You can by mixing your primary and secondary colors together. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. A lot of you probably already know how to do that. So I want you to start with your first color of your night sky. Dip your paintbrush in your water, and my suggestion is to add a little bit of water to all your paints just to get them wet, or actually just to your cool colors, because we're going to be using cool colors, so things slide around a little bit better when you paint. Now, before we get started, I totally forgot, if you want to add stars, you can take your yellow crayon or your silver crayon, or a white crayon will work, and color your stars pretty darkly, pressing hard. We're going to do something called a resist. And we've done this in art many, many times. where we color with oil pastels or crayons, and then when we paint on top of the crayon or oil pastel, since it's made of wax or oil, the watercolor pushes it away and all of your stars, our stars are going to show up. I'm also going to add a moon. You can do a full moon or a crescent moon. So I'm doing some larger stars. You can even do stars like Starry Night, how we did little dots with little swirls going around it. I think that's a great idea. And then I'm going to add some tiny little silver twinkling stars. So I'm just doing a dot with some lines going around it. I want to do a lot of stars. Now remember to press pretty hard, because when we paint on top, we want to make sure that the crayon shows up. All right, now you put your crayons aside. We are ready to paint. So I'm going to start with blue. I'd like you to start at the top and work your way down all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to do a sweeping motion all the way across with my paintbrush. And remember to use more water if your paint is not sliding across enough. That means you're not using enough water. So add a little more water. Now, I'm at blue. To make a blue violet, we need to mix blue and violet together. So what I'm going to do is actually overlap. I'm going to go to my violet, and I'm going to overlap on top of my blue, and that's going to make a blue violet. Remember, every time you switch your colors, you should be washing your brush thoroughly. So I'm going to do a blue right on top of the violet, and then I'm making my blue violet. Now what if I wanted to make red violet? Well, start with your violet, and what color would we put on top to make red violet? Red, that's right. So I'm taking my red and I'm going on top. Oh, I made a little mistake there. I'll just fix that. Just take some water if that happens and spread it all the way across. Now my red violet's a little red, so I'm going to overlap it. That's better. I'm going back to my blue again. If you want to add turquoise, if we want to add blue-green, you would mix blue and green. So let's try that. So I'm going to put blue on top, and then I'm going to take my green and overlap it. Oh, that's beautiful. So you should go all the way to the bottom of your paper. Awesome. Now while that's drying, you can go ahead, put your paints away. We won't need those anymore. And then we're going to start making our buildings. Okay? We'll see you in a bit. One thing, friends, if you don't have watercolor paints on hand, you can always use crayons to design your night sky. This one I used different kind of cool colors. Some blues, purples, blue-greens, and I even mixed a little black by blending. And then I used a yellow marker to add my stars and my moon, and I think that looks just as nice. So again, if you don't have paint, you can always use crayons or color pencils or even markers to design your night sky. All right, for our buildings, I'm going to use old magazines, old newspaper. I have a comic section. If you want to use construction paper or any kind of scrap paper for your buildings, that would be great. All right, so I printed out just a silhouette of a city skyline, thinking of different shapes of buildings I'd like to do. You could do just a traditional rectangular building, but maybe you want to go a little crazy and add some different kind of points to your building, some domes. You can change up the shape. So we're going to cut those out of newspaper and magazines, but later, tiny little details, like if you want to add spires or smokestacks, I would not try and cut those out just because they're a little tricky. We could add those later with pen or black marker. All right, so I'm going to do that by starting. I'm just going to start with the magazine page. And make sure if you get a magazine, it's an old magazine that your family doesn't need anymore. Okay, and I'm going to rip out a page. And I'm just going to start. Now you could just sketch out your building, but I'm just going to go for it and just cut out a rectangle shape. And I would cut them on the larger side because later on you could always cut them to make them smaller. You shouldn't cut out your buildings itty bitty, because if not, then it's going to be hard to add more. It's always better to start big, and then you can always shrink them down if you need to. So as you see, I've got already a triangle. I have this really cool kind of angular one. Create a rectangle. I'm going to make one that has a dome, a rounded top. And just to change things up a bit, I got these comics, and I'm going to cut out a few more buildings out of my comics. All right, so you see I have a whole different range of buildings. I have some taller ones, some shorter ones, some skinnier ones, some fatter ones. And looks like I have about 8 buildings. You don't have to use all of them, but I figured the more you have, better to cut out more than to not have enough. All right, so my background's fairly dry. It's a little damp, but I think we could start gluing at this point. First thing you want to do is start with your taller buildings and kind of arrange them the way you want them to be on your background. Again, you don't have to use all of them. I'm going to cut a few. And then you could start overlapping as well. And of course, by overlapping, you could see that kind of the stacking effect, your city's going to look a lot more filled up than just, or a little bit more realistic of a city skyline than just like 3 buildings in a row. So definitely you make some overlaps in your picture. You can do that first by kind of tucking in where you want certain things to go. All right, I think that looks good. So the next step, once you have it the way you want, is to take your glue stick and glue them down. Alright, so my buildings are all glued in. Now to add windows, you can take a contrasting piece of paper. So you can use plain white, or if you have plain black, or a colored sheet. If you have yellow on hand, that would be fine. I just have white paper from the computer. And to do windows, what I like to do is just kind of cut a skinny strip off one side. And then you can cut the strip down into smaller squares or rectangles for doors or signs. Okay, and then you could start gluing in your windows on your buildings where you want them to be. And you can have as many windows as you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, now I glued my windows in, and the last step is my favorite, adding details. Now, you can use a black marker to do this, or if you're writing things, like if you want to write some signs or you want to add a little more drawing detail, I would suggest using a black pen because it has a thinner line. So I'm going to use that to do some details on my windows. I'm going to draw some doors on this building. This is going to be a sign. I'm going to label this CVS Pharmacy because that's an important place to definitely have in a city. Here I'm going to add kind of an archway to my door. Why not? I think this is going to be one of those spinny revolving doors. Those are so fun to go into. I'm going to add a person in my window here, actually 2 people. All right, what do you think? I added some details with my marker for some spires or radio towers. You can always add smokestacks, details like that with your marker. I added a boy and girl waving hi outside the window. I got my CVS here. I got my cat hotel with the cat in the window. Isn't he cute? All right. So I hope you enjoyed this activity. Again, you can design your city at night any way you want. You can be as creative as you'd like, and I know you will be. I miss seeing you, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.